So I've got one more question in the chat. If elected, collaborating with the other party will be needed, the opposition party. What is your style, or how would you attempt to reach across the aisle on topics like energy or others? Lorrie, do you want to start with that one?
Well, I know if it were energy, I would not start with my opponent. I would have to find someone more friendly to energy. My experience when I served in the legislature before is I looked at the individuals serving as individuals, not as party. And I would approach anybody regarding any issue and talk to them about it and see where we had common ground. And we always had common ground. Even in the beginning, you know, your first day in the legislature and they seat you, and they were seating us in an integrated fashion. So it was Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. And I sat down next to this fellow, and I had never met him before, and said to him, "Hi, my name's Lorrie. What's yours? And what committee are you on?" Because we all have to serve on committees. And he said, "State and Federal Relations." And I said, "Oh, good, me too." And he says, "Well, what are you? Republican or a Democrat?" And I said, "I'm a Democrat." And he said, "Oh, shit." Yeah, so there is that attitude there. But you know what? In the end, we became the best of buddies. We'd have lunch together, you know, over at Gretchen's hot dog stand, Puppy Love, and because that's what we could afford. And we've kept we've kept an email contact all these years. And I think you have to do that. You have to look beyond the party and the label, and you have to find common ground. And nearly all of us can find common ground. I think with the energy issue, that's a no-brainer. Really, the latest bill that the governor vetoed, that one had all the lobbyists for all the different forms of energy in the state in agreement. You never see that sort of consensus ever, especially among lobbyists. But you had consensus among all of them, and it was one of the best written bills that there could possibly be. It had a strength of a lot of organizations, and it had support on both sides of the aisles. Narrowly, I know it narrowly passed because of partisanship, but it still had folks on both sides of the aisles who supported it. And then the governor vetoed it, and he vetoed that type of bill, I think 3 times. So you've got to say, if a bill has passed the House 3 times in 3 different forms, essentially the same bill, why is it the governor can't let it pass? He has the biggest veto graveyard of any governor I have ever seen. I can't remember historically anybody vetoing that many bills. But I think we've got to get on legislating by veto. We've got to talk to each other. We've got to have lunch together. And we've got to sit down and say, where do we have common needs? And all of us need affordable energy. We're heading in the wrong direction right now. And we can reverse that. We have to look to be more self-sufficient, more independent. And if we don't find that within our state, if this grid goes down in New England, we're in trouble because we don't have an alternative. And we need to think about that.
Okay, Lois, what would be your style in dealing with Republicans and reaching across the aisle?
Well, I would really like to think of myself, and I hope I would, that I would listen and I would respect them, and I would expect them to respect my ideas also. And unless we can work together and put the R and the D in our pocket during sessions and committees and talk things out, nothing is ever going to get done. We've seen that. I would reach across the aisle. I will sit and talk and want to know, okay, why do you think like this? And what is your reasoning for this? And this is my reasoning for that. And like there's three sides to every story, side A, side C, and the truth in the middle. So I would like to think that we could and learn to compromise. And I think in the ultimate end, though, my vote would be what Loudon and Canterbury folks would want me to do, because no matter what I'm thinking, I'm there to represent them.
Would you like to
Okay,
answer the same question?
what I was thinking was when I was a school counselor, and I did a lot with middle school students for a while, there were conflict resolution was a given in middle school in particular. And we had a school administrator one time who would, if kids got into arguments, disagreements, fights, he would say, okay, you go to the counseling office and if you can come up with an agreement, then, your discipline will be this instead of this. And so they would come in and, they would each have a chance to tell their story without interruption. And there would be like two circles, this story and that story. And then their job was to listen to each other. And then after they each had a chance, the question was, are there things that you see that you can agree on? And they would find the overlap like the old Venn diagram. And then we try to talk within the area of agreement to try to come to a solution. And it might be an area like this where there was overlap. Towards the end, there would be more clarity about what they had in common that they cared about. And a lot of times I feel like that approach, really listening to find those little nuggets of shared value, because I think a lot of times Republicans and Democrats are concerned about the same thing, but their perspectives are different, and they spend so much time talking in the outer part of the circle and not the overlap, that sometimes things get pulled apart instead of really finding that common ground and working within it. So in a lot of ways, I really feel like that's kind of the way I work. It's okay, listen, see what I can find that we can agree on and work from there instead of arguing about the stuff we're never going to agree
on. You're getting some positive feedback in the chat box. Props for your props.
I had to go get them.